Let's go ahead and get started. So it's a little after 5 o'clock. I think people that are going to show up are here. So I appreciate you coming to the session. We have sort of an interesting room here. Everybody seems to like the right-hand side of the room, and very few people seem to like the left-hand side of the room. As I was preparing for today's session, I realized we'd probably have a couple different groups or audiences in the audience. We have people that are already developers and submitting applications via Windows Phone Marketplace and understand the consumer experience and both the developer experience. We'd probably have some people that have registered as a developer for Windows Phone Marketplace but have not submitted any applications. And then we probably have some people that are new to Windows Phone Marketplace and are trying to decide how best to get started. And so today's session kind of covers all those audiences, and I think it provides tips and tricks for everyone and an important look forward on what we're doing with Marketplace to improve both the consumer experience and the developer experience. And so before we get started with today's presentation, I'm really interested, and I'd just like to see a show of hands. So if you're in the audience and you're already a registered Windows Phone developer and you've submitted an application, raise your hand. Okay. So we got maybe 10% of the people in the room are registered developers and have already published an application. So thank you for publishing your applications. That's great. So I'd also like to see who in the room is using a Windows Phone on a daily basis. So show of hands. All right, much higher. So that's like a third of the audience is using a Windows Phone on a daily basis. That's great. So I'm going to use that to kind of focus in on different things during today's session. So I appreciate you sharing that feedback. So we're going to cover a lot of ground today, and before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items. So we have about 75 minutes. Whenever I do a session on Marketplace, there's always lots of questions about how Marketplace works, the consumer experience, and the developer experience. And so I'd ask you to hold those questions until the end. I'm going to save enough time for question and answer. During Q&A, if there's a question it's very specific to your business or your application, I may ask to hold it until after the session, and we can handle it one-on-one. I'll be available after the session to talk as long as you want to and answer as many questions as you have about Windows Phone Marketplace. So, and then you understand to help us improve the sessions, to fill out the online session survey. So we would appreciate you doing that. And so with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about the agenda. And so we're going to cover a lot of ground today. I'm going to do some presentations. I'm going to do some demos as well. So first, we're going to go through the state of Marketplace. So how many applications do we have? How many developers do we have? What are we seeing as far as activity in the Marketplace from consumers? What's working well? What's not? Next, we're going to go into the Windows Phone Marketplace experience, so the consumer experience on the phone, so the experience that you, the third of the audience that is using a Windows Phone, sees on their phone. We're going to follow that up with talking about what is going to be new in the consumer experience that really stands out as part of our Mango release that's coming out later this fall. Then I'm going to walk through App Hub, which is our developer portal, which is where developers interact with Marketplace, submit their applications, manage their applications, and really grow and build their business on Windows Phone. So I'm actually going to go through a very short demo of submitting an application. There's some interesting things to call out to people in the audience that have not submitted applications that'll be helpful when you go to do it. So I'll do that. I'm going to follow that up with what's new in App Hub, the developer portal, which we're releasing this July. So there's some important new things that we're releasing. We want to talk through those sort of in detail. Then favorite topic among people is geographic coverage. So what are we doing to increase the coverage for both consumers that can use Marketplace and acquire or purchase items, as well as developers that can register for Marketplace and submit applications. And so I'll talk through what we're doing to expand our geographic coverage in both of those areas. And then I'm going to close with a section on what you as a developer can do to increase the performance of your application. And increasing the performance of your application applies both to applications that are being sold and applications that are using a free model, or potentially a free ad-funded model. And so there's a series of tips and tricks and best practices that I'm going to walk through that I think will be valuable to people today. If you have applications in Marketplace, these are the things you could go do now. If you're looking at engaging with Marketplace when Mango releases later this fall, these are all things that you could apply then as well, that the data that we've gathered have shown is very useful. Okay. So starting with the state of Marketplace. So what we see is there's a growing exchange of value between all of our developers that are creating the great applications and games that are available through Marketplace and through consumers. And so what we see as of today, there's over 16,000 applications published to Marketplace. So we've seen tremendous growth in the number of applications and games since we launched Marketplace in late October 2010. And the number of applications and games is growing significantly. It's growing at sort of average 100 new applications per day. We see the mix of the applications between free and paid. About 60% are free and about 40% are paid. Wait, I have that wrong. About 40% are free and about 60% are paid. And we see a pretty high paid download rate. So about 3.2% of the applications that are downloaded are actually paid downloads, which is high. And for developers that are focused on a paid to own business model, that's an important metric. And also, we have our premium Xbox Live games as part of the Marketplace content. We think that's important, and it helps differentiate Marketplace from other mobile marketplaces because it's a set of high-quality content, and consumers understand that it is high quality, and there's a higher bar there, and they are accustomed to paying for that. And so we believe that helps application developers as a whole that want to charge for either applications or games by having sort of the premium Xbox category of content. So next, so the 16,000 applications and games are coming from a really broad base of developers. So we have over 41,000 registered developers as of today from around the world. And so it's a huge number. We're all very excited about the growth that we've seen and the interest that we've seen from developers around the world. For those of you that are already participating in the Marketplace, and sharing feedback, we certainly appreciate all the feedback. We take that feedback very seriously, and a lot of that is what's driving updates, both in App Hub this July and in some of the consumer experiences as well. So out of the 41,000, there's about 7,000 developers that have actually published an application. So there's lots of people that have shown up. They've registered as a developer. They've paid some money. And that's a strong indication that there's a whole lot more applications on the way, which is great. for consumers, people that use Windows Phone, and the breadth of content and the variety that they're going to have available to them. And finally, right now, we're seeing over 1,000 new developers registering per week. And this has just remained constant. It's increasing in some ways. And again, we're very excited about that momentum. Now, the applications that are being created they're loved by consumers. So we see on average that consumers are downloading 12 applications per month, which is a really high figure. We're really impressed with the engagement. We think the design of the consumer experience on the phone has proven to be very compelling. And we think this ecosystem that we have structured with our developer partners is one that has attracted high-quality content, and that consumers recognize that, and they feel like they can trust the content out of Marketplace. And they started this virtuous cycle with high engagement, high downloads per average user. So that's all good. We also recently have been spending time on trial. When we launched Marketplace, we encouraged developers to use the trial feature in any paid application. It's a feature that you control. You determine the length of the trial, the type of the trial. Trial is there as a tool to help you convert somebody from sampling your product into purchasing your product. And recently, our data has really proved this out. There's a 10% conversion rate between applications that are downloaded via trial to paid, which is really high. And so those of you that have applications in Marketplace that are paid, I would encourage you to use trial, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then finally, merchandising. For those of you that use Windows Phone on a regular basis and Marketplace, you'll recognize that there are certain placements that we have within the experience where we can highlight what we think are the best or most compelling or really unique mobile applications that you create. And we do that to help drive both consumer delight and engagement with Windows Phone and help our developer audience drive downloads and drive sales. So we'll talk a little bit more about the impact of different levels of merchandising on application downloads and application sales, as well as what our team that manages that inventory, our merchandising team, what they look for as a great app. And so there's a series of things, seven tips that I think any developer could actually deploy right now. You could deploy one, you could deploy all. They're all things that would help drive engagement and interest from consumers. And finally, I've already sort of alluded to this, the applications in Marketplace are generating what we call high ARPU, and so high average revenue per user. And there's a number of factors going into this. One is mobile operator billing. So here in the slide, it's referred to as MO billing. So we know that about 50% of the Windows Phone users are in a country where mobile operator billing is available to them. Quite simply, the value of mobile operator billing is the ease and the convenience to the consumer. So if they're a first-time person in the Marketplace, they don't have to go enter a credit card associated with their Windows Live ID. They can simply click purchase, click confirm, and they acquire the item. So it's a ease of purchase, and that drives over a 200% increase in paid downloads in markets where we have mobile operator billing. So that's something that we're clearly focused on expanding because it's good for our developer ecosystem. It's part of developing and maintaining a strong, healthy ecosystem for our developers, as well as it's a great convenience for consumers. And finally, we're seeing a high average sales price for applications in the Marketplace. And we think this is important, again, to building a long-term ecosystem for you to build your businesses on. All right. So a little bit about Marketplace broadly, and then I'm going to jump into the consumer experience on the phone and highlight a couple things, and then we'll talk about what's going to be new in the consumer experience with Mango. And so with Windows Phone Marketplace, we have two goals. First, Marketplace is the software distribution service to the Windows Phone. And we've always talked about increasing the distribution options available, and we'll talk about that more later today. But as the distribution service to the phone, it's there to do a couple things. It's to help you connect with the broad base of Windows Phone consumers in a way that consumers trust. There's a lot of confidence in it, that provides a broad set of content choice and is a high-quality experience. And so it's designed as an ecosystem that will help reward you for the innovations that you make over the long run on our platform. And so we do a lot of things to enhance the discovery of your applications, to highlight quality applications, and structure the ecosystem in such a way that we reinforce quality of applications in everything we do, because that builds trust with consumers, which drives activity, which drives the ecosystem for our development partners, and drives monetization. So, all right, so with that, I'm going to cut over to a demo, and I'm going to use a couple different phones. All right. I'm sure this is going to go perfectly smooth as a live demo. I'm going to start, and I'm going to launch Marketplace. Those of you that are using a Windows Phone on a regular basis, you'll be familiar with this. But I think this is a great way to set context for the improvements that we're making with Mango. So when you launch Marketplace from the start screen, you'll notice that you're taken into what we call the Marketplace Hub. And what you'll notice is that there's a broad panographic image that controls the background. And that is the image associated with the featured item of the day. So in this case, it's a music album. But it can vary between music, applications, and games. So then you see a list of the different content types that are available to be acquired. Marketplace is where consumers go to acquire content on the phone, whether it's an application, it's a game, it's music, applications from their mobile operators, and applications, in some cases, from the manufacturer of the device. So in this example, you see that there's the AT&T App Center. In there, AT&T has applications that are important to their subscribers. And you see the Samsung Zone, where there's applications that are important to people with Samsung devices. Now, at the bottom, you'll see the number of updates that you have pending. I'll just click on that real quick. You can go in and you can update, an individual application, or you can update all the applications at once. As Marketplace being the distribution service to the phone, it's an important mechanism to provide you the ability to easily get updates of your applications out to consumers so they can install those updates. All right, I'm going to switch phones. So this is a different phone, and it's configured for a different country. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to highlight a difference that exists today in the marketplace consumer experience. So this phone's actually configured for Australia. So as we go through and you see prices that are different than US prices, that'll be why. What you'll notice here is that we didn't go to the marketplace hub. Instead, we went directly to the application hub within Marketplace. So we skipped the primary hub where there's the primary featured item, and there's 6 additional featured items, and went directly to the applications marketplace. It's because Australia is a market where we don't have music, and so with the consumer experience today, if we don't have music, we skip the primary hub and we go directly to the applications marketplace. Again, there's a primary featured item of the day. That's a consistent theme across the marketplace experience. As I scroll across, I see all the genres of applications that are available to me. I see some HTC applications. I see games. I can scroll down, business, books, and reference. So these are all the categories that you select when you submit your applications via App Hub to help consumers find them. So if a consumer knows they're looking for something in entertainment, they're able to click on entertainment, go in and browse, and we'll talk about how they easily sort and filter what they're looking for. Scrolling over, we see top. So top is an algorithm-based set of results based on paid applications. And so we see what are the top paid applications. It's based on downloads, and it's based on time. And it varies by country as well. Scrolling over, we see new. So what are new applications that have been submitted and have been made available in this market? So in this case, in the case of this device, it believes it's in Australia, so it's showing new applications that have been submitted and made available to consumers in Australia. Again, it's algorithmic, it's based on time. And then we scroll over and we see featured. And so featured is just one of the sets of merchandising inventory that we use to promote what are really great applications to help delight consumers and help them stay really engaged with Marketplace and drive downloads of your applications. So down at the bottom, you'll see there's more. So I'm going to click on more. And what pulls up is the entire featured list. And I can scroll through, see the whole list. What you see is the primary icon for the application. You see the application name. You see a short description for some of the applications. Like the very first one, it says Deal of the Week. And then you see the aggregate ratings for that particular application. And then you can scroll over to the next pivot. I can look at top, and I see the top applications. I can scroll over. I'm interested in new. I see the applications that are new. Again, these are the applications, some of the same that were on the application marketplace page. I can scroll down. There's even more. I can scroll over to featured, and I see a variety of applications. So I'm going to back out. And I'm going to click on Fruit Ninja. So this is an application. This is a game. In this case, it's an Xbox Live game that's been published by Microsoft Game Studios. And what you see here is the information that developers make available during the submission in App Hub. And really, this is the information that consumers see about your applications that they use to make purchase decisions or decisions about acquiring the product. So I use the analogy of going into the supermarket and going to the cereal aisle. There's 1,000 different types of cereal. Consumers need good information to help them focus in on your product. And so I'm going to talk about this when we talk about App Hub, but providing great information in the application's detail page really helps consumers focus on particular products. And so we see applications and games where developers have spent less time on the metadata that's available to consumers here end up having fewer downloads or sales of their applications. Yeah. Quick question, okay.
If they're coming at the rate of 1,000 a day, and if I have a phone, which I don't,
Yeah.
but if I have it, am I getting 1,000 games available on the market every day?
Okay, so the quick question is,
Yeah, this is not purchased, it's on the phone.
Right, yeah.
How did it get there?
oh, okay. This is actually a good question to handle right now. So the marketplace experience that we've been browsing through, think of it as a catalog. You're browsing a catalog of applications or games that developers have submitted to Marketplace. They've gone through a certification process, which I'll talk about more later. And these have been published into the catalog as things that are available for consumers to download. Consumers still need to go into Marketplace, and they'll either browse and find the application they're looking for. Maybe they'll see it in one of the merchandised slots. They might use search to find a particular application. Or a friend might have shared a deep link to a particular application with them. So everything in the catalog is not downloaded to people's phones automatically. Users actually have to go initiate either a purchase or a download of an application. So thank you for that question. So in the case of Fruit Ninja, I see the primary icon, a watermelon being sliced in half. I see the price, again here, this is showing an Australian dollar price. I see the aggregate rating score for this, so it's 4.5 stars. Out of a possible 5. I see there's 168 ratings. So as a consumer, just even looking at that part, I think, oh, this is a highly rated game. It has a very high score. Many people have reviewed it. You can click and you can see even a longer description of the game. I'm going to hide that. And then the developer in this case has provided a lot of screenshots. Again, this is additional information to help consumers make purchase decisions about a product. And so you can flick through all the different screenshots. So in this case, you can submit up to 8, and they've submitted 7. You can actually go in and you can read the reviews. We provide a short list of the reviews. If you click on more reviews, you can read them all. Down at the bottom, we show some related applications. In this case, related games. Related shows other top-performing applications from the same category as the item that you're looking at. The theory being that if the user has looked at the item and they've decided, this one's not quite right for me, we're going to show them some more things from the same category to drive their engagement with Marketplace and hopefully drive more engagement with your applications. There's some other very useful information here. First, it shows the size. I don't know how well this is coming across in the Wolf Vision. It seems to be vibrating around. I see the size is 19 megabytes. That's important. Applications that are less than 20 megabytes can be downloaded over the air, over a mobile operator connection. So if it's greater than 20 megabytes, a consumer has to either enable Wi-Fi on their device, or they have to tether their device to their PC and acquire the application that way. So it's important information. Did you have a quick question, or? No? Okay. You also see the languages that the application is localized into. So we're going to talk about localization a little later. This is an important area, and frankly, it's a great opportunity for developers that has not been fully taken advantage of by developers. And then down at the very bottom, you see more from the name of the developer. I click on that, and I do a quick search, and it returns the results of all the other games, in this case, that have been published from Microsoft Game Studios. So I'm able to scroll through that, and I'm able to see all the different games. All right. So I'm going to back out of this. Now, one of the nice things about the consumer experience is that when people acquire content, Windows Phone organizes it for them based on where they're likely to want to engage with the content that they've acquired. So the simplest example is when I install a game, so I buy a game, I download a free game, I download a trial of a game, it's installed into the Games Hub. The Games Hub is where people go to interact with their games collection. So in this case, I see the Xbox Live games that I've acquired, either as paid or as trials, and then I see games from third-party developers that I've either paid for or acquired for free. Another great example, well, actually, so games go into the Games Hub. Every other application actually goes into what we call the app list. So you tap over, and you see this list of applications. And I'll just call out a few. You see Picture Lab, and I see Slacker. These are applications that appear both in the app list and they appear in other places because they've decided to use the unique capabilities of the phone to integrate with the different hubs. So I'm going to tap on the Music and Video Hub, which is pretty empty because it's a demo device. But I do see that I have a couple applications. I have the Slacker application that is integrated into the Music Hub. And so they've chosen to do this on purpose because they think that when people choose to interact with music, they're going to do it through the Music and Video Hub, and they want their application to be there. And so this is a capability that we make available in Windows Phone, and applications that take advantage of these capabilities are more engaging for consumers. I'll give two more examples. I'll go into Pictures, and I'm going to tap on this picture. Hang on. Tap on the picture of the person playing soccer. I'm going to hold my finger down, and I see extras down at the bottom. And so extras are applications that have decided to integrate in a special way with the Pictures Hub, or the Photos Hub. And so I see two applications here that I've installed. So I'm going to click on one. I'm going to click on Pictures Lab. And so this is an application that I've acquired. So I've downloaded it to my phone. In this case, I paid to acquire the application. And it is integrated with the hub, and it allows me to apply different effects to the pictures that I select. And so in this case, I'm going to choose that effect, and you can see that it makes that change. I can decide to save it into the hub along with all my other photos. In this case, I'm going to back out. And so these are examples of the opportunities that are available by integrating more deeply with the hubs. And then finally, on this device, I want to show one more example of a developer that is using a capability called deep linking within Marketplace to help promote sort of their portfolio of applications. So they've written a couple applications, and they're using space within those applications to cross-reference each other and drive additional downloads and sales. So this application happens to be called Bing Fight. I'm not really interested in it for that. I want to go to About. So About, and I see there's a list of these other applications. And if I click on one, sure enough, it takes me to the application's detail page for another application by the same developer. And so this is a great opportunity for you to cross-promote applications as you build out a set of applications. It's not appropriate for everybody's business model, but for those of you that are developing multiple applications within Marketplace, it's a nice capability to drive additional download activity. All right. So I'm going to switch back to my other device for just a minute. So again, this was the device that has the Marketplace Hub here. And just to give the example, I clicked on Apps, and I'm taken to the same Applications hub that I'd shown on the other device, except that this device thinks it's in the United States, and so there's a different featured item for the day. And so the background is different because the background's keyed off the primary featured item. So I wanted to show that. Then I wanted to scroll over, and I'm going to click on this Xbox game. And I'm going to click Buy. I just want to show an example of the experience for a consumer where mobile operator billing is enabled. And hopefully there's enough signal coming into this room. All right, as part of this, the application's requesting access to my location, and before I acquire it, Marketplace has the consumer confirm that they want to allow that access to location. I said allow, and then I see the purchase confirmation page, and you can see that this is going to it's going to charge $2.99 plus taxes to my AT&T bill, and there's the logo of my mobile operator right there. And so I could just click Buy, and I would purchase the item. So that is a quick overview of the current user experience within Marketplace. So I'm going to switch back and talk about what's coming with our release in Mango. So one of the big changes is that every country where Marketplace is available is going to have the primary Marketplace hub, as well as the application hub that I showed, and it's going to have a new hub that we'll talk about in just a minute. So I'm going to click on Marketplace here. I go in, scroll across. This should look familiar. It looks like the experience. Although now it looks a little different because I'm seeing applications, games, and music as content types that are available to me on the primary Marketplace hub. And so every market's getting the Marketplace hub. That's great. We're increasing the number of merchandising slots that are available to us. And we've added a soft key search to make it easier for consumers to find what they're looking for. So next, games are important. People love to play games. Games represent about 30% of the catalog right now, and probably more than that in the revenue from paid applications that are acquired. And so I want to give an example of the new games marketplace that we're adding. So in this scenario, I clicked on Marketplace. I'm going to click on Games, and I'm taken to a games marketplace. It's just like the other hubs. I can scroll across it. There's, I'll let the scrolling finish. And I see the primary featured item of the day. It controls the background panographic image. I see the genres or the different types of games that I could go drill into. So if I was looking for a strategy game versus a card game, that's how I do that. There's also soft key search to help consumers quickly find what they're looking for if they know what they're looking for, or there's a particular keyword they're looking for. We also have a list of the top Xbox Live games. We have additional featured slots to feature great third-party games as well as Xbox Live games. And then there's some algorithmic placement for new. With Mango, we're also adding support for some additional game rating systems. So 6 additional game rating systems. And this is important because it helps us enable parental controls. And so parental controls are important in gaming where you want to distribute a game that has mature content. And mature content varies by country. So I'm going to use a very US-centric example. So I could publish a game that would be rated by the ESRB, which is the game rating body for the United States, and it could be rated T for teen. With Mango, I would be able to submit a mature rated game. So, for example, Halo is probably going to be a mature rated title. And there will be different rating systems supported for the different countries around the world. So some other big improvements. As you've seen, we're adding soft key search across the marketplace experience, just making it very easy for consumers to quickly jump off to what they're looking for. In addition to that, when you're doing a search, it'll autocomplete based on what people have previously searched on, which is nice. And then in this scenario, I'm doing a search. I did the search based on arcade, and I'm able to actually filter across different content types. And so I see apps and games. I can use the pivots. I could go over and I could search in music or in podcasts, other content types that are available to me on the phone. Yes?
Filter by ratings or newness of the app in that category?
So the question was, when you're using the search capability, would you be able to filter based on newness or ratings and reviews in this listing? And at this time, you won't be able to do that, yeah. When you drill into a genre, either in the games marketplace or the applications marketplace, you'll be able to filter based on new, and you'll be able to filter both the free results and the top results, which is paid, are filtered based on ratings as well. So, all right, so jumping ahead. So we're adding a new capability when people do searches. And so in this scenario, somebody's done a search using the hardware key. So every Windows phone has a search key as part of one of the hardware keys that uses Bing for search. And so in this example, I've done a search about a movie, and Bing has returned a certain set of information to me. And we have this new capability where applications can be displayed as extras associated with a search result. So if you did a search result and an application had registered itself with the associated keyword, your applications could be discoverable within the search results. And so these would be applications that would be helpful to the person that was doing the search and completing the task that they were trying to do. So the search that was being done was about a movie, and so the results that pop up are the IMDb and MSN Movies. And so if I launch into one of these, it's going to help me learn more about the movie that I was doing a search on. It's a great way to drive engagement with applications that are already on the device, and it's a great way to drive awareness of applications that are not on the device, but that the consumer might want to acquire. So we talked about the applications detail page. Again, this is what consumers use to make purchase decisions. And so with Mango, we're making a couple changes. Instead of it being a long, vertically scrollable region, we've switched to the pivot layout. And so you're able to quickly swipe across to see the screenshots, see the reviews, see the related applications. Again, the goal is to make it easier and quicker for consumers to evaluate an application and decide if it's right for them or if they want to look for something else. So application installation. Right today, when you install an application, if it's an application, it installs in the app list, and it can also be available in the Music and Video Hub and other places like the Pictures Hub, as I showed. And if it's a game, it gets installed into the Games Hub. There have been people that have installed things and then wondered where they were. And so we have a feature in Mango that when you install an application, it shows you that it's being installed into the application list. So there I see Foursquare, I see it's installing. I see I'm installing Flickr, or I've tried to install Flickr and there was some problem. Maybe it was over the 20 megabyte size, and I need to connect to Wi-Fi to complete the download. So this is intended to help consumers understand where their applications have been installed, whether in the app list or the Games Hub. We've also added search to the app list, and we've added alphabetical, so you can tap on letters if you know the application you're looking for. If you're like me and have a phone that's loaded up with a whole bunch of applications, it's easier to find things. All right. So with that, we're going to cut over to a quick demo of App Hub. And so for those of you that are already publishing applications, you're very familiar with App Hub. App Hub is the developer portal for Windows Phone. It's actually combined with two platforms. So developers that want to develop for Xbox as well as Windows Phone. I'm just going to talk about Windows Phone today, but App Hub is the sort of the destination. It's the starting point for developers that are interested in Marketplace. It's where you go to get and download the free tools. So I'll just highlight some things. It's where you go to understand what's going on. What's the current news related to Marketplace and our developer ecosystem? What are the educational materials available? Some answers to top questions, and a spotlight feed. So I'm going to focus on the signed-in experience. And so I'm going to go to My Dashboard, and I'm going to select Windows Phone. That's not supposed to happen. Hang on just a second. Sorry, I had the connection set up, and it seems to have timed out. So, I think we're just about back. Okay, connected. All right, so we're back. I can see in the upper right-hand corner that I'm signed in as Todd's demo account, so I'm going to go to My Dashboard, Windows Phone. So the dashboard is where developers go to submit their applications and to manage the applications that they have. So you may have a number of applications that are in different states. This is where you come to sort of manage your business on Windows Phone. We're doing a number of improvements to it. So here you see that I've started a submission of an application called My GPS Demo App. And I'm just going to do another submission really quickly. You also see at the top that it says I need to enter my bank and tax information. And so that would be true if I was submitting applications that I wanted to get paid for or wanted to sell. You need to enter the tax information in order to get paid. So if you publish an application that has a price, we'll start selling it to consumers. Once you provide us your banking information and your tax information, we'll pay you when you've hit the $200 royalty payout threshold. So let's really quickly go through submitting a new application because there's some important things to call out. So I'm just going to call this demo. It's version 1.0. That's good. I'm going to attach a zap. There, I've got my demo zap. Notes. No. No. This is a pretty simple 5-step process to go about submitting an application to Marketplace. Once it's submitted, there's a lot of things that go on in the background. And so I'm going to pick my category. I'm just going to say it's in entertainment. I'm going to do what I said not to do, and I'm not going to focus on my metadata. I'm just going to write foo. Keyword is foo. I'm going to go to next. And then I'm going to add some artwork. And so I've got a handful of icons that I've created for this application. So those are the required icons that are used in different experiences on the phone and both on the PC. I'm going to attach the optional panographic image. This is what would be used if my application was featured or if a consumer found my application in the Zune software. And then I'm going to add just one screenshot. Okay, so pretty simple artwork. I'm not sure it's the most compelling, but it gets us to the next stage of the process, which is important to talk about. So there's a couple things when you submit an application. First of all, you can call out whether or not your application has a trial. So at the beginning, I shared some of the data on trial conversions. We think trials are really important if you're distributing a paid application. The next option that you have to choose from is distribute worldwide. So you can choose to distribute worldwide. I'm going to do that in this case. In some cases, developers have rights to contents for specific markets, and so they can't distribute worldwide. If you do that, you can just uncheck it, and you can go check the countries that you want to distribute into. But I'm going to choose worldwide. AppHub knows I live in the United States, and so it's going to show me a US dollar price to pick from. So I pick US dollar price, and then you'll have noticed that AppHub does the conversion for me into all these other currencies for the markets that I'm going to distribute into. Now, if I actually wanted to do some type of A/B testing on pricing, I could do 2 different submissions to test prices in different markets. And so that's something that you could consider doing. So I'm just going to go with this $4.99 price point. I'm not going to do any testing. And then the default is to automatically publish an application into Marketplace once it passes certification. So as soon as I hit this Submit for Certification button, a lot of things happen in the background. So the application's sent off, and it goes through a series of technical tests. And so we do this to make sure that applications that are in the Marketplace, they work well, they perform well, and it helps drive that virtuous ecosystem with consumers. And we also check the content in the applications. And so for those of you that are not familiar, there's a document on the front of AppHub that spells out the technical certification guidelines. Some people use it as a checklist when they are working on their project or when they do their submission. There's some good things in there to read and understand. I'll give an example of one. It's number 5.2.1, which says an application must load within 5 seconds. So from the time a consumer presses the icon, they need to see something happen within 5 seconds. And so we've decided, that's the bar for consumers feeling like the applications are engaging and responsive. So I'm actually going to uncheck this because, and actually I'm just going to save and quit because I really don't want to submit that. All right. So that is AppHub. I'm going to jump back to some improvements that we're making. So with the release we're doing this July for AppHub, we're enabling we're enabling 2 new methods of distribution. So we've always talked about phasing in new methods of distribution over time. When we launched Marketplace, it was just purely public distribution. If you publish something into Marketplace, anybody in the countries that it's been targeted to is able to browse. They're able to find it in the catalog. They're able to search and find it. So we're adding two new. The first is beta distribution. And so this is based on a lot of feedback from developers around the world. So beta allows you to identify a list of up to 100 people that you want to receive a deep link that will allow them to download your application and provide you feedback. And so the goal is that you get feedback from a sort of a broad set of people, but not too broad, and that you're able to iterate and improve your application before you do the final publish into Marketplace. You can do as many betas as you want, so you can do beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. The nice thing about beta is that it is really private. So it is controlled based on the set of Windows Live IDs that you provide in AppHub. Because users on Windows Phone sign in with a Windows Live ID to access Marketplace. Only people that you've said should access your beta will be able to access your beta. Now, the beta apps, they only last for 90 days. They can't be updated, and they can't have a price associated with them, because the purpose of them is to give you feedback to improve your applications. One of the nice benefits is people running the beta don't have to develop or unlock their phone. That was something I could have shown on AppHub. It's the ability to register a phone so you can put Zaps onto it and you can test them for fit and finish. With the beta service, you don't have to do that. So next we're adding what we're calling a targeted distribution service. And what it does is it allows you to select a set of users or target a set of users and provide them with a deep link to an application that you've created. And so this is an application that's not publicly discoverable in Marketplace. So if a user does a search or if they browse the catalog, they're not going to find this application. The only way they're going to find this application is somebody has given them the link to this application, and they're able to download it. So these applications do go through the certification and testing. They can be free or paid, and you can publish updates to them. They don't expire, and any number of people can access them. So it's a really nice new capability that we're adding. Sort of the key difference between this and beta, well, there's a number of key differences, but one of them is that it's not access control based on the Windows Live ID like beta. And so, targeted distribution is private to the extent that the people that you've distributed the deep link to, don't share it, and the additional security that you built into your application. So this is just to compare and contrast the different distribution methodologies. So public is what we launched Marketplace with. And we've added beta. We will be adding beta and targeted with the release or update of AppHub this July. So this just kind of itemizes the difference. Beta 100, targeted unlimited. Betas must be free. Beta expires after 90 days. Targeted doesn't expire. Beta can't be updated, although you can do beta 1, beta 2. Targeted can be updated. Publicly discoverable, sort of no for both, although if somebody shares the deep link for a targeted app, then it's been shared with another person. Beta is access controlled, but it's access controlled based on live IDs. And the scenarios, beta is really for beta testers or reviewers. Targeted is just for a group of people. Maybe you write an app that is only applicable to your group of friends, and you just want to share it with your group of friends. So targeted is a way to do that. Or maybe you have a set of 100 customers that interact with your service in some way. You just want to share it with them. Yes?
Can you pull down the targeted deep link? I mean, in case like your app is suddenly via email or something, that link
So the question is, can you change the deep link if somebody decides to go post it on Facebook or Twitter or something like that? You can't change the deep link. And so, targeted is not an answer for sort of enterprise distribution scenarios. It's for enabling applications that are not easily discoverable in the catalog and allow you to target a group of users. You probably have some additional level of authentication or access control around the application, depending on what it is. So, yeah. You could go in and unpublish the application from Marketplace, but it would unpublish it from everybody. So nobody new could acquire the app. So it's a capability that we're enabling with App Hub in July. So, but it also requires Mango. And so, developers can start flagging things in July. So just back to App Hub, there's a number of improvements that we're making. The biggest is we're adding a lifecycle tab. So for each and every application in your list, if you've got a lot of applications, you can quickly drill in and see where it is in the certification process. You can actually, and this is a very nice feature, you can go in and actually see all the ratings and reviews for all the countries around the world. So for those of you that are already publishing applications, you're aware that this is not in App Hub today, so this is a great capability for you to see the feedback from people, consumers around the world in one nice centralized spot.
Will that be from that point forward, or will it be historical as well?
It's intended to be historical as well, yes. Yeah. And then finally, we're revamping the dashboard. So for those of you that have multiple applications, you're going to be able to see a roll-up of your entire business on Windows Phone in a nice, easy way. So all your sales, all your downloads, your top selling items, your top downloaded items. You'll see notifications about any applications that you have in the certification process and any actions that you need to go do to sort of move them through that process. I mentioned the game ratings. So if you submit a game for a particular country, we're going to make game ratings available. And depending on the country you're submitting it to, we're going to prompt you for the appropriate game rating. We don't want you to have to go become experts in game ratings. And so we're building it into the workflow of App Hub. So there are certain countries that will require a rating for a game. And then there's certain content levels. I gave the mature example earlier where a game rating is required. This is just a long list of improvements that we're making to the workflow in App Hub. So making it easier for you to submit an application, streamlining the process. We're actually localizing the site into a couple of different languages, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. And we're making it possible for you to export out all the reporting data so you can process it additionally if you want to. Did you have a question? No? Okay. Okay. So increasing market coverage. So today we allow developers from 30 countries around the world, the countries in yellow or gold, to register via App Hub. And so they can register as a student, an individual, or a corporation. We're adding 8 new countries where developers can show up and register from with App Hub as a student, individual, or corporation. Additionally, we've launched a program that enables developers from many more countries to submit applications in the marketplace. We're really overwhelmed with the response from developers around the world that are downloading the tools and wanted a way to start publishing their applications. And so we have set up, worked with a group of partners, global publishers, to provide coverage for these additional countries as we continue to sort of expand our geographic coverage over time. So they actually cover 102 different countries. It's an option available for developers. They can decide if they want to do it. What you basically do is enter into an agreement with one of these global publishers, and you provide them your application. They publish it on your behalf, and they are supposed to provide you reporting and pay you out over time. And so for countries that aren't covered but in the current 30 or the 38 that we're going to, this is a great option. So for consumers, when we launched in 16 countries around the world. So that means only consumers in 16 countries could purchase your applications or acquire them for free. So we're adding 19 new countries for a total of 35 with our release, our Mango release. And so we're really excited about that. All right, so we're running out of time. So I want to get to making money and increasing app performance. And so the first slide I'm going to go through is really, it's a set of 7 things that even if you aren't selling an app, or if you're using an ad-funded model, or if you're just publishing an app because you want to publish an app and have people download it, these are all things that you can do that should improve the performance or adoption of your application. Okay, so first is the trial API. If you're selling your application, we talked about the importance of this. So apps that are paid that have trial get 70 times the downloads of applications that don't have trial. There's a 10% conversion rate, so you work out the math. If you implement trial on average, you get 7 times higher results, which is great. Tips and tricks. I'm going to skip over those. Basically, don't give away too much value. I talked about the idea of A/B testing different prices in different countries. So that's something that everybody should consider. So using live tiles with the push notification service. For those of you that use the Windows Phone, you'll notice some of the tiles on the start screen are live. They're interactive. The applications that use live tiles and the push notification service are more engaging. We see that consumers interact with them more. And so if your business is based on engagement, either ad-based or some other way, using live tiles is a really important tool. Use the Microsoft Ad Control if you're launching free applications. And so we launched the Microsoft Ad Control with Marketplace in November of 2010. It's proved very, very successful for developers. There's some great results and success stories from developers using the ad control. It does some nice things. It actually has multiple ad networks bidding on every impression, which is good for developers because it raises the CPM, right? And it uses targeting information based on Windows Live ID, and 70% of all the revenue is paid out to developers. Price it right. I think I've hit this a couple times. If you're selling something, revenue is really determined by both the price and the quantity with which you sell. So I would encourage you to do some A/B testing. Don't underprice. It's harder to raise your price. And so this is where A/B testing could help you find the right price point to maximize your revenue over time. You may end up in a scenario where you have 2 or 3 submissions targeting different groups of countries with different price points. And that's something that AppHub allows you to do. So localize, publish. So this is a really surprising thing. So out of the 16,000 applications in Marketplace, less than 15% of them have been localized for anything besides English. And so, which has been very surprising to us, because people obviously like to use applications that are in their native language. And so for developers, this is a great opportunity to drive additional engagement and make your application more appealing by doing localization. And so the tips and tricks are, if possible, do the localization of all the metadata, if possible, with a native speaker. Keep more of what you make. This goes back to taxes. If you're selling applications, Get the tax ID number, complete the tax paperwork. Otherwise, there's this default 30% withholding that Microsoft has to do because we operate out of the US. So if you're a developer outside the US and we don't receive all the appropriate paperwork, we could have to withhold up to 30% of what we should be paying you. And then finally, get promoted. So I'm going to skip ahead. So we've walked through the experience a little bit earlier. So I just want to share some of the numbers. So for an item that's actually lands in the primary featured slots on one of the hubs for just one day, it receives a 2,000% increase in the number of downloads. So huge impact. So doing the right things to sort of bubble your app up as something that could be promoted could have a really large impact. Things that are in the featured icons, they actually get an 800% uplift for the day that they're featured. And then additional items in the featured list, so things beyond the top 3, they receive on average 150% increase just for the day that they're featured. So getting featured makes a big impact. So how do you go about getting featured? This is a common question. How do I get into that slot? I want to be the primary featured item of the day. Getting promoted, it's about knowing what we look for in a great app. And so a great app, really quickly, is one that has a solid base of functionality, and then has a nice layer of utility, and then finally does something to delight consumers. And so it's either a seamless experience with the Windows Phone UX, or just it's some new amazing consumer scenario to delight consumers and really make somebody want to show the application to their friends. Let's see. So we're running out of time here. So functionality. I'm going to skip through these and just get to some questions and answers. So we talked about making money with advertising. Microsoft has an ad control for both Silverlight apps and XNA applications. Right now, we can only pay developers in the US. We're going to add more countries in the second half of this year. It's super easy to set up. It's very easy to do A/B testing between different categories of ads that you want to show users within your application. And then PubCenter, pubcenter.microsoft.com is where you go to register. It's very straightforward. And then finally, we do have a program for independent games that want to make use of the Xbox Live services. So Microsoft Game Studios does not create all the Xbox Live games. There's actually third parties that do, and there's independent third parties. The indie program, they're looking for great games, and this is the contact information for the indie program. So if you've got a great game, contact the folks in our Xbox team, and they'll evaluate whether or not that can be part of the portfolio and talk about what the next steps in that are. So with that, quick calls to action. Go to App Hub if you haven't already. Get the free tools. Start building. When you're ready with something, please come register as a developer. You can do it as a student for free if you're part of DreamSpark, as an individual or as a company. And then think about the 7 things that you could do to increase the performance of your application. Think about localization. We're going to be adding more markets in Mango, more languages in Mango, and really developers that use language as a way to stand out have a real opportunity.